Hey everyone, today I will be showing you guys how to use Kafka Connect source connectors to pull files from an SFTP server and post it to a Kafka topic. This will be a two-part demo. The first part is run locally. The second part is run entirely on Docker, where all the services will be packed up into a Docker Compose file and run with just the up command. So for the local demonstration, we will need to download and extract to the working directory the Zookeeper, Kafka, and the SFTP plugin. I will put the links in the description. For the first link, it is a quick start guide for using Kafka. If you want, you can do this quick start guide first and then come back to this video for the SFTP part. But from here, you can download Kafka and download Zookeeper. For the second link is where you can download the SFTP plugin. Okay, so moving on. I have Visual Studio Code and Terminal open here side by side. I have extracted all the downloaded files to this working directory. We're just going to start up the Zookeeper server and the Kafka server, and we're just going to be using the default configuration files for both of them. So for Zookeeper, we would need to edit the file zoo_sample to just zoo. Also note here that we are using port 2181 for a Zookeeper. After that, we just need to make sure that our Kafka server is pointing to port 2181 for Zookeeper, which it is. And now in terminal, we would need to start up the Zookeeper server. And the command for that is just bin/zk server.sh and then start. And we can see that it has started. And now we back up and go into the Kafka folder. And we start the Kafka server. So the command for that is just bin/Kafka server start.sh, and then we have to give our configuration file, which is server.properties. Now we can see that the Kafka server has been started. So for this next step, we will be using this Docker Compose file to bring up an FTP server. I will also have a link in the description to the image that I'm using here. But basically what this is doing is that it's linking my volume in my local machine here to the FTP server here. And I'm exposing the port 22 on the Docker container to my localhost port 22. Right here will be the username and the password that we will be using to connect to the FTP server. So let me just bring it up. Now the FTP server should be up and running, and we can proceed to the next step. Now we can run Kafka Connect, but before that, there's a couple things that we need to configure. First, we need to link the SFTP plugin to the Kafka folder. So let me check my present working directory. Right now, I'm currently in the Kafka folder. I will make a new directory for plugins and change into there. And now I will make a symbolic link to the SFTP plugin. So I didn't copy. And we're gonna link the lib folder and then name the symbolic folder SFTP. And we can see here, and we can see that it is currently linked. Now we will need to go into the Kafka folder and add some configuration. We will need to look at the connect standalone property and then add the plugin path so that it will read our plugin folder. And we will also need to add a property file for SFTP. We'll be using the CSV example. And I have the example right here. And let's just copy up into right here. So a couple things that we can add would be the schema generation enable with the true. This flag will allow us to generate the schema dynamically. I changed the username to FTP user. This is what we said earlier when we had made the FTP server. For input.file.pattern, we can process every single CSV file with the following pattern. And the input path, it will need to read from the FTP folder, and the error path, it would need to read from FTP/error. You will need to make sure that the error and the archive folders are already created on your FTP server. And they can be named anything. So I just name the error path to error and the finish path to archive. This just means that dependent on your policy here, so for cleanup policy, I will change it to move. And what this means that every time that a file has been processed, it will move from the input path into the finish path, or if there's an error to the file, it will move to the error path. So let's just run. So let me check my present directory. So I'm now in the main Kafka folder. The command to run would be just bin connect standalone, and the first value that it would take would be the standalone configuration. So it is in connect standalone.properties, and then also the next one would be our SFTP property. Kafka Connect is running now and is looking for a file to process. Now I have my FTP folder open and terminal open, and I'm just going to start creating CSV files. And we can see that as soon as the file is put into the FTP server, Kafka Connect immediately picks it up and processes it. And I'm going to add a couple more. Okay, so now let's go into the archive folder. We can see that the 3 files that we created earlier is now in the archive folder. What this means is that Kafka Connect picked up these files from the input path, processed it and put it into the Kafka topic, and moved the files into the archive folders after completion. This concludes our local demonstration. In the next part, we will also have a consumer web application consuming the streams being sent to the topic, so you can see that in real time. This is part 2 of the demo. We have this Docker Compose file that has all the services that you would need to make this demo work. We have Zookeeper and Kafka, an FTP server that our Kafka Connect will connect to, a configuration service that will configure our Kafka topic and then also configure our Kafka Connect. And ultimately, we have a consumer web application that will consume our Kafka topic and print out the streams in real time. Okay, so let's run this Docker Compose file. Now all of our services are up and running, and Kafka Connect is looking for a CSV file to process. Earlier we had set to port the consumer web application to port 8080 on our local machine. If we go to route Kafka/get messages, it will route us to an application that will be a real-time consumer for the Kafka topic. This is where we will see all of the messages consumed by our application. So now let's put some CSV files in our FTP server. And as you can see, that file is immediately picked up by Kafka Connect, processed, and then sent to the Kafka topic. And our web application picked up that stream from the Kafka topic and printed it out on the screen. We can add more CSV files, and then the same process will happen. That's it for this demo. I will have all the codes and configuration used in a GitHub repository and linked in the description. Thanks for watching.